Today is Total Body Training's 8-year anniversary. That's right, baby. We have been alive and kicking it since 2014. And today I'm gonna share with you our origin story, a little bit about the history of Total Body Training, and where we're headed as a business. But if you don't already know me, my name is John Carlos, and I have been helping people tone up and get fit here at Total Body Training since 2014. I am the owner and the head trainer, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the origin story. And here is where Total Body Training started. But I think I'm forgetting something. Because first, I got a job at a corporate gym in sales, and then eventually I started studying to become a personal trainer. But in the back of my mind, I knew that I always wanted something more. I knew I wanted to start my own business, so I took my clients and I started training them in a park. At the time back in 2014, I was training and doing a lot of bodyweight exercises and HIIT workouts that really didn't require me to have much equipment. Sure, I was strength training, but that wasn't most of what I was doing because at the time I was running Spartan races, and that requires you to be able to do things like climb ropes or bear crawl and do burpees, just exercises that just don't require you to have any kind of strength training really whatsoever. I decided to start my first version of the company using what I had, which was nothing. It was just an outdoor park, which is across the street from the apartment that I was living at the time. On May 27th, 2014, I started a company called Outdoor Athletics out of here in San Pedro Park. And literally, I had clients who were people who'd been working with me or acquaintances and friends that I just asked to come work out for free initially, and then they started to sign up with me at a certain rate. And then also, I had people that I would meet in the park. Alejandra is one of my friends. She still does photos for us and periodically works out with us. I would just meet people like her and other people and be like, hey, do you want to come work out with my group? We're working out here at 5 o'clock. I see you're in the park right now. It's 5:15. What are you doing? And people would jump in. And to tell you the truth, I have no idea how I was able to start my company that way because I'm just a random guy in a park asking people to come join. And I guess it probably helped that I'm friendly. And slowly but surely, I started to develop a following, albeit a small following, of people who would work out with us every day or a couple days a week here in the park. And then I started to get equipment. So initially it was all bodyweight exercises, but I knew I wanted to add a little bit more because you could get more and offer your clients more. But I didn't have money. I didn't have any money saved up or anything like that. So what initially I did was I would go to thrift stores and find like kettlebells, and then I saved up a little bit more money and I would go to Academy and I would buy other equipment like kettlebells, other kettlebells, more kettlebells, because I was trying to find like something that was very functional that I could use for multiple things, and you can use kettlebells in multiple ways. That's why I did that. I also purchased resistance bands, which didn't work so well because they would tear up out here, but it was just a part of what I was doing. I just thought that would be an easy piece of equipment to include in my workouts here. And then I started doing a lot of DIY stuff. So I would make my own sandbags because you can do a lot with sandbags. If you've ever looked at HIIT workouts with sandbags, essentially I didn't have the money to buy the professional sandbags, but who needs the professional sandbags when you can make it yourself? Because I started making these little pouches with sand in them. I would sew them. Actually, my family would help me. My parents would help me out with this. We'd make them all together. We would weigh out the sandbags, and voila, I've got a 20 or 30 pound sandbag that cost me, maybe like $5 or $10 to make because I was thrifting the duffel bags that I would put the sand inside of, and it was just the most cost efficient way to start my company. And other things that I did, for example, I found out that you could make battle ropes. Battle ropes are kind of expensive at the time. They were expensive to me because like anything was expensive because I didn't have much money. I found out that you could make battle ropes using fire hoses from a fire station, so the really thick industrial ones. You can see the video of that right here. These are people actually using these, but I just called around different fire stations and saw if any of them were throwing out their fire hoses, and there was, I think it was one of the first ones that I called was like, yeah, sure, you can take them. And so suddenly I had 3 of these that I was using with my clients, and they work not as well as using a battle rope, but they definitely are better than not having anything at all, and they get the job done. I had started my company in the summer, and things were starting to get cold. The weather was starting to change because we were getting closer to October and November, and I realized at that point that I needed to find somewhere indoors because I was gonna lose clients. And so what I then did was I got my own spot over here at SAC, which is a college, San Antonio Community College, right across the street from here. I went to them, I asked them if I could rent out part of a space there or a workout floor, and the only thing that I could afford was this racquetball court that they would put some weightlifting equipment and store things in. And if you've never been inside of a racquetball court, it can be a little bit annoying because the sound inside of those things echoes because of the way the room's shaped, and I'm not really sure why the acoustics are like this, but it's just this echo. It's very annoying. That's the best I could do though, and you know, for whatever reason, people still continue to trust me. They believed in what I was doing, and I'm very grateful to anybody who was around at that time, because I don't understand why people were doing that, but they must have just believed in what I was doing and also like the results they were getting to have stuck around. And then I knew though that working out in that racquetball court was not sustainable, and what I really wanted was my own studio. And furthermore, I also knew that I really wanted to focus on strength training. I was starting to get out of the habit of just doing the running, and I was always strength training. It was something that I was always interested in, but I specifically started to get interested in powerlifting and weightlifting sports in general. So I moved into my spot over at 9200 Broadway, which is actually the building I'm in right now, but at the time I started off in a much smaller suite, which is Suite 106. I also changed the name of the company from Outdoor Athletics to Total Body Training in January of 2015. I started off in this room that had nothing in it. It was just a plain room, and I brought over some of the equipment that I had from the park because I'd saved up some things, and I started to build my base again, and I started to add on some equipment, but I really didn't have much of anything at the time. I just had some equipment, which were the kettlebells, and I started getting dumbbells, and I got some battle ropes, and eventually I started to add on other pieces of equipment like squat racks, but I just didn't have the budget because I couldn't take out a loan. I was such a new business, and I, had to do with what I had. And so, if you're a person who's trying to start your business, I strongly recommend you just try your best to do what you can with what you've got, and don't let having less things or not having everything that you need stop you from at least getting your foot in the door and starting. Then something interesting happened. I was taking on a very personal interest in weightlifting, and I knew that I wanted to move away from this HIIT style of training because it didn't really match where I was going as a business, and I don't feel like it really was useful for most people. And so what do I mean by that? What I noticed when I was teaching these classes is that I was taking the same approach that many other training facilities were taking. So, in the CrossFit space, which we don't do CrossFit training here, that's not what we do whatsoever, and I can explain that in another video, but essentially they have a WOD structure, which means that there's a workout of the day, and people are more or less doing the same thing. There's some kind of scaling that goes on, but it's not really tailored to fit each and every person's needs. Not only that, but like in group fitness spaces, like say what I was doing, or like you take your Camp Gladiators classes where you're just kind of doing a boot campy kind of thing. What happens is the workout is so general that not everybody's able to keep up. And I kept running into an issue where I would have a class where I would have somebody who was highly athletic and somebody who could keep up with this workout that we'd written, and then I would have somebody who hadn't worked out in like 30 years and was just trying to make their first steps in working out. And repeatedly there was a conflict because I would write these workouts and I would try to scale them, but it just wasn't working. And so I bookmarked that in my head and started to think, what if everybody just had their own kind of plans? What if everybody had their own custom programs? And so a year later, as I was growing, I realized that we needed to move into a bigger space, and I moved into the 9200 spot here at Suite 130. Where I'm at right now. And here are some pictures of this room. It was just a blank room. It was really didn't look like much of anything at the time. I was from Total Body Training, and I'm here at the new Total Body Training, which you can see they've been renovating. If you've been keeping up with me, you already know that just about a month ago, we started doing some changes to this new building, and we knocked down a bunch of walls. Done a really good job so far. You can kind of see that we've got the different spaces right through here. I'll walk over here and show you what we got going on. We started to slowly fill it up with equipment, paint things, make adjustments and things like that. I didn't have the amount of money that I wanted to at the time to really grow everything. I didn't want to go over budget and not be able to, satisfy the requirements of paying my rent or paying my stuff for myself. So I slowly started to add on more equipment. And at the time I didn't have so many clients that it even really mattered. We did the best that we could with what we had, but I was growing. And it was right around October of 2015 or 2016 that I had about had it with the traditional method of working out people. So what was happening is I kept running into these issues where several people felt like the beginners level people weren't getting what they wanted, and several people who were maybe intermediate or advanced didn't get that. And then I would also get people who were injured that needed certain kinds of modifications. And so suddenly I just felt like this just isn't working. And this isn't even how I worked when I was working as a personal trainer one-on-one with people. Personal trainers don't work with people like this, in this way, in this very general general way where everybody's doing the same thing. A one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't really make sense because there are so many people who have so many different needs. And it was during a vacation that I took to the Dominican Republic where I finally had some time to sit back and think about it, that I realized, why not just make programs for each and every person? Because at the time I had taken an interest in bodybuilding programming and powerlifting programming and things like that, and I was writing my own programming and I was borrowing from other people's programs and learning from them. And so I was like, what if they all just get their own templated programs? And the moment I came back from the Dominican Republic, I told everybody, hey, here's what we're switching to. We're doing mostly strength training, and then we're going to spend some time doing the HIIT training that you're already used to. And this was met with mixed results. And the reason for that is because I was essentially flipping the entire way that I was working with my clients. People who were accustomed to working out with doing all these crazy burpees and things really wanted that. And there was another group of people who were just like, okay, I really like this style of training. Finally, we have structure, and finally we're able to modify exercises for each and every person. This is great, I love it. This gives this structure that I felt like I was lacking. And so, at that point I had a dropout, and a lot of people who just dropped out, they're like, I don't get this, I don't really want to keep this. And then there were people who were like, I love this, and the new people were starting to come in and were saying, I like this. And time and time again, what I really wanted to do was just stay with the strength training. And so what happened is that I was in this weird in-between spot where I was growing as a business, but I would keep getting the feedback that there were many people who liked the strength training portion of the class now. As I was growing, the people were coming in for that, but people were not enjoying the HIIT training part of class. And personally, I wasn't too big on the HIIT training part of class either. I was focusing more on the strength training elements of class. And so in the back of my head, I said, I want to try to get rid of this HIIT training, but I don't know how I can get rid of it without it being a problem for the people who do already enjoy it. And it felt like it was just already stuck in our brand. And I also felt dissatisfied because it felt like our brand was this weird mismatch of like strength training and HIIT training. It was like we were focusing on bodybuilding, but then we were also doing these movements that were conflicting, because if you do HIIT training right after you do some kind of bodybuilding movements or exercises or strength training, oftentimes it can actually hurt how effective those workouts are. It's not that doing HIIT training is bad, it's that you should really separate them and do them at different times of your day, and yada. I can get into all the sciencey parts of it, but it just didn't feel like it was the right model for me. And I had all this in the back of my mind, and then COVID happened. And that was interesting, because what ended up happening is that we were in what we would call a make or break situation. We were shut down for 2 months during that time period, and I instantly started flipping the business model that I had, because I had experience with strength training and I had equipment and I also knew how to HIIT train. I decided that I would go with the business model of doing online Zoom classes for people who wanted to stay with me. And so what we did is we adjusted the prices here. We brought the prices down significantly, and I did a rental with people. So I literally brought fitness equipment. You can see some of those pictures here from when we did that. Fitness equipment to people's houses in my truck. So I was bringing barbells, dumbbells, kettlebells, dumbbells, everything that I had, benches, things to people's houses so they could work out with us online. And those workouts kind of were more similar to the style of training that I had started off in, which is more like time-based exercises instead of rep-based exercises. So it was more like a cross between strength training and HIIT training, somewhere in the middle there. That went well for a while, and I was able to pay the bills, and luckily I was able to make it through that time period until we reopened. But in the back of my head, I knew that I just wanted to switch over to a business model where we were just doing strength training. And then I got the opportunity to do that, because when we reopened, the state still had a rule that places had to mandate masks when they were working out in training facilities. And so we really wanted to follow that, because we felt that that was best for our population and best for us, business-wise. Places were getting sued that weren't making their clients wear the masks as per the Texas law and over the state law. And so what I did was I made people wear their masks, but I took out the HIIT training, because the HIIT training would make people very breathy. So essentially we could do the strength training, but I noticed that people weren't doing so hot when they had to like jump on boxes and do stuff like that. And so then and there, I finally got the opportunity to just do strength training, which is what I actually wanted to do. And unfortunately, during the time period in between switching from going from online into in-person, a lot of people decided they didn't want to come in person. So what ended up happening was I started to get new clients who never really knew the difference between the old total body training, where we had strength training and we had HIIT training, and the new total body training, which was just strength training. I had some clients, and at the time, initially told them that, hey, we're eventually gonna bring back the HIIT training, but right now it's not gonna work. But I started to see more and more that that wasn't really what I wanted to do, and that people really felt happier. I started to get better feedback from people. I started to realize that people were feeling more accommodated for because they had their own customized programs and their own customized plans, and they were much happier just finishing that up. And after all, strength training does yield better results than just doing excessive amounts of cardio when you're trying to tone. And so most of my people here just happen to be wanting to strengthen and tone their bodies. Some people want to lose weight, but still, in all of those cases, strength training is far superior to any of those things. It's more sustainable and it's healthier for us over the long run. Not that cardio is bad, I can explain that in a different video, but I knew right there that I wasn't going to switch back. I was getting better results with people were happier, and I was happier with the product. I was more proud of it, and it felt like it was something that was more customized to me. It felt like something that was more true to the brand of total body training, the idea of customized programs. And once the mask mandate was lifted, we just switched over to strength training full time. Now, what we completely stick to is just building customized programs for people for either 2 times a week, 3 times a week, or 5 or more times a week here at Total Body Training. During the time period of COVID, when we were shut down, I was able to spend a lot of time doing cool things like building things. So I started to change this whole back room. I started to build everything that you see in Total Body Training. So for example, the signs that we have inside of the studio, the coffee shop kind of feel when you walk in, the rustic coffee shop, the cement work, all these things, the tables, the benches. I and my girlfriend decided that we wanted to try to build something that was unique and interesting. And so I spent that time during COVID when I wasn't training people, because I had more free time, actually learning skills for carpentry and building, because I actually already had a lot of the skills from when I was younger. And so I just started to learn how to build my own tables, learn how to build my own benches, learn how to build things, and the brand of Total Body Training started to come together even more. So the look and the feel of what we have here started to come to life more, because what I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, what I had in mind when I first opened my studio was a combination of all of the places that I most enjoy spending time at, which would be places like a yoga studio with a really cool hip environment, right? Somewhere that's like rustic and modern, but also a coffee shop where a cool hip local coffee shop has this kind of industrial look, this kind of rustic look, and I wanted to combine those things. And so that's what we're doing right now. And that's what we started to do, was building the place that looked the way that we wanted to. And you know, the thing is that I could have very well have purchased every one of these pieces of you know, tables or furniture and things like that. But when I would look online, sometimes I would just look at something on Etsy that I wanted to buy, and I would realize, okay, I think I could build that. I would see something that someone had built at home and it would cost like $3,000, like this table right here. You can see right here that I built up front. And I was like, I really don't want to spend $3,000. I think I can build it. And so I just built it. I just made it myself because I had the time. And so everything here that you see is hand built. In fact, many of the squat racks here were actually welded and built by people in our community here at TSS Sports, but we designed them. So there is a lot of me and a lot of work and time that's been put in and love from myself and my girlfriend and my family into actually building this place. And so, you know, that's what we're coming to right now. When you come into Total Body Training, you're seeing the fruits of that labor during that time period, and what I consider to be a more cohesive version of our company that really stands out from other places. It's the custom experience that you get here, from the candles that you get, the smell of being in Total Body Training, us playing the kind of hip hop music that we focus on playing here is all a part of our brand, and then the actual look and the aesthetics of the place are all a part of the brand and the identity of Total Body Training, which we've worked so hard to get to. And if you told me when I first started that this is what it was going to look like, I would have been pretty surprised. You know, I didn't really know entirely. And so if you're trying to start your own business, just go do it. You don't know where you might end up business-wise a couple of years into it. You don't always know what something might look like. And you know, take a chance and really give yourself a shot and really just go in. The other thing that I want to point out is that we're still going places. So I'm still building things here, contracting people to also help me with that kind of work. We want to bring on more personal trainers in the future. I have more visions for what I want to do as a company as we grow. I don't feel comfortable sharing that. I just want to talk about the aesthetics. We want to build a new sign in this room up front and build some other things here for Total Body Training. That's the most that I'm willing to tell you. But I just want to say that if you've stuck with me over over this time period because I still have people who started off with me 8 years ago. Shout out to my friend and client Alessa. She was one of my first clients that I had in the park, and she stuck with us on and off for the last 8 years. I really appreciate you. If you started off with me 8 years ago and you're still working out with us, you're a fucking G. I really appreciate you being a member of Total Body Training. And I wanna say to anybody throughout the years who's contributed to this brand and contributed to Total Body Training, whether you're here right now or whether you're not here, you're always Total Body Training family. I truly value each and every one of you. Thank you so much for helping us grow this company. And we're here to stay, baby. We're here to stay. And I want you to be a part of it. All right, people. Until next time, peace.